It was one of those October evenings when Ohio feels like it's holding its breath. The sky had been gray since noon, and by the time darkness pressed against the kitchen window, the rain had settled into a steady rhythm. I stood by the stove, stirring a pot of soup I barely remembered starting, watching the maple leaves spiral down onto the wet sidewalk like the days of my life falling one by one. The house smelled faintly of potatoes and thyme. The hum of the dishwasher blended with the ticking clock, each second echoing louder than it should have in the silence of waiting. My son Max sat at the table, his pencil tapping in uneven beats as he worked through math problems. He had his father's jawline and storm gray eyes, but the worry etched between his brows, that came from me. Every few minutes he glanced at the front door, then back at his homework. Sophie, my 5-year-old, was sprawled in the living room, singing to her dolls in a made-up tune. Her voice was a bright thread weaving through the heavy stillness of the house. She asked once when Daddy would be home. I told her soon, even though I didn't believe it. Mark had said he'd be home by 6. It was nearly 7. I didn't even bother texting him anymore. After 12 years of marriage, I had learned to stop expecting him to walk in on time, or to walk in with a smile, or with eagerness to be here at all. There was always some excuse. An emergency at the shop, a late customer, a repair that took longer than expected. And when there wasn't an excuse, there was the silence, the long drives he took before finally pulling into the driveway, the way he lingered in the garage instead of stepping into this house, into our life. He never said it outright, but I could feel it. This wasn't where he wanted to be. I used to wait at the window, heart racing every time headlights turned onto our street, hoping it was him. That hope had hardened into routine, and the routine had soured into something heavier, pressing down on my chest like the low clouds outside. That night felt no different. And yet, for reasons I couldn't explain, the air tasted more bitter than usual, like something was about to break. At exactly 6:53, the familiar clatter of keys broke through the quiet, followed by the creak of the front door opening. Relief flickered in my chest, so small, so desperate, but it faded almost immediately. Mark didn't come into the kitchen. No boots on the tile, no shuffle of a jacket hung on the hook, no quick kiss on the cheek, not even a glance toward his children. His footsteps passed the entryway and headed straight for the back door. I stepped into the hallway just in time to see his back vanish into the garage. No apology, no acknowledgement, just silence. And then the heavy thud of the door closing behind him, leaving nothing but the faint scent of motor oil and damp leaves trailing in his wake. I stood there for a long moment, hand against the wall, staring at that door. It wasn't the first time he had hidden in there, but usually he pretended, asked if dinner was ready, hugged the kids out of obligation. Tonight, nothing. Just gone. The garage was his sanctuary. He called it his workspace, but to me, it was a fortress. A place where I wasn't welcome, where he tinkered with engines, drank his beer, and shut out everything he didn't want to face inside these walls. Me, the kids, us. 20 minutes crawled by. The soup simmered into a thicker stew. Max finished his homework and started sketching tanks and dragons in the margins of his notebook. Sophie, bored with her dolls, curled up on the couch with her thumb tucked in her mouth, a habit she hadn't shown since she was 3. Then, headlights cut across the window. Another car pulled into the driveway. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and peered through the curtain. Linda's battered silver sedan. My stomach clenched instantly. Mark's mother had a way of arriving unannounced, like the house was still hers to command. She never knocked, she never called. She always came with a purpose. And this time, she wasn't alone. Andrew climbed out of the passenger seat, Mark's childhood friend. Quiet, polite, unassuming, the kind of man who blended into the background. He and Mark shared some strange closeness, bound by grease-stained hands and garage banter more than anything else. I watched as Linda strode down the path with her usual air of entitlement, Andrew trailing behind. They didn't even glance toward the house. They went straight for the garage. The door shut behind them. 3 people in there now. Mark, his mother, his friend. Not a single one of them thought to say hello. And that's when I knew something was wrong. Terribly, deliberately wrong. I waited as long as I could. 30 minutes, maybe more. The soup had thickened, turning bitter on the stove. Sophie's dolls lay forgotten on the couch. Max's pencil scratched across his paper as he drew tanks and dragons, filling the silence with scribbles. Still, Mark never came inside. I ladled some soup into a container, pulled on my jacket, and stepped out into the wet night. The yard was slick with leaves, the porch light casting long, restless shadows across the grass. The garage door glowed with a strip of yellow beneath it, spilling onto the concrete like a warning. I reached for the handle, soup container warm in my hand, ready to call lightly, "Dinner's ready, boys." But then I heard her voice. Linda. Sharp. Cold. Cutting through the rain like glass. "Mark, please, don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. I told you from the start. That girl wasn't right for you. Look at her now. Frumpy. Bloated. Dragging herself around like some tired old housemaid." My heart lurched. Mark's voice came next, low and weary, but not angry. Not defensive. "Mom, come on." She snorted. "You know I'm right. She used to be halfway presentable, but now she waddles around in sweats and stained t-shirts like she's given up. Honestly, I'd be embarrassed to be seen in public with her." My chest tightened. The soup trembled in my hand. "What does she even do all day?" Linda continued mercilessly. "The house is a mess. The kids are a mess. She can't even bother to lose the baby weight. And Sophie's what, 5 now?" I waited for him to defend me, to say something, anything. Instead, Mark sighed. "I don't know, Mom. Maybe you're right. Sometimes I think I made a mistake marrying her." The word slammed into me like a fist. A mistake. Andrew cleared his throat and sighed. "Hey, that's kind of harsh, man. She's the mother of your kids." But Mark only laughed, bitter and sharp. "Yeah, and Max spends all day glued to a screen while she just shrugs. Sophie throws tantrums at daycare. You think that's parenting? She doesn't even try. Just sits around, watches TV, complains she's tired. God knows from what." Linda jumped back in, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "Exactly. And remember Lena from the accounting office? Now there's a woman. Smart, polished, takes care of herself. If you'd ended up with someone like her..." "She's married, Mom, but not with denial." "So what? A real man could change that. You think Lena would sit around looking like a cow all day?" That word, cow, it shattered something inside me. 12 years of marriage, 2 children, countless nights rocking sick babies while he slept undisturbed. Dinners cooked, laundry folded, dreams traded for stability. And now I was nothing more than a cow. I pressed a trembling hand to my chest, fighting to breathe as the garage walls seemed to close in on me from across the yard. My vision blurred. My knees nearly buckled. I backed away slowly, careful not to let the leaves crunch under my boots. They couldn't know I'd heard. Not yet. Not until I decided what to do with the pieces of myself they had just broken. The next morning began like any other. Sophie begged for extra syrup on her waffles. Max complained that his socks felt weird. Mark had already vanished before dawn, leaving no note, no word, nothing but the hollow impression of his absence. I was rinsing dishes when I saw her car pull into the driveway. Linda.
Of course. She breezed through the door without knocking, a box of cinnamon rolls balanced in her manicured hands, her smile as sweet and artificial as the icing on top. "Monica, honey, I was just in the neighborhood. Thought I'd bring these by for the kids." I forced a polite smile. "They're already at school." "Oh, well," she said lightly, slipping off her gloves. "All the more for us." She sat down at the kitchen table like it belonged to her, scanning the room with sharp, calculating eyes. The smudged glass above the stove, the dying plant by the window, the laundry basket in the corner. She catalogued it all. "You look tired, dear," she added, bringing faux concern dripping from her tone. "Didn't you sleep well?" "Something like that," I muttered, pouring coffee. Her hands folded neatly, her eyes gleaming. "You know, I've been thinking, have you considered doing something for yourself? Maybe a spa day? Or a new haircut?" I didn't answer. She leaned closer. "You've always had such a pretty face, but lately, well, I worry you've let yourself go a bit. And men, they notice these things. Mark especially." There it was, the dagger, slid neatly between the ribs. I took a slow sip of coffee, letting the burn steady me. She kept going. "It's not just about looks, of course, but a woman should keep herself appealing, especially as a stay-at-home mom. It's so easy to get comfortable, isn't it?" For the first time, I met her gaze directly, really looked at her. The way her lips curled when she thought she was being subtle, the flicker of triumph in her eyes as if she believed she was winning. And something inside me hardened. "Did Mark say something to you?" I asked, my voice even. Her smile faltered. "What? No, of course not. He's too polite to bring up delicate things. But I'm his mother. I know when something's off." I set my cup down gently. "You said I've let myself go, that I don't keep my husband happy. Those are very specific concerns for a mother just dropping off cinnamon rolls." Her fingers tightened on the box. "I'm just trying to help. A little honest feedback never hurt anyone." "No," I said quietly, my voice cutting sharper than I intended. "But dishonesty does." The silence that followed was heavy, just the tick of the clock above the fridge, the soft patter of rain beginning again outside. "I don't know what you think you overheard," she began, but I cut her off. "You don't have to pretend. I heard everything last night, in the garage." Her face froze. The mask cracked. All the sugary smiles, all the passive-aggressive digs, collapsed beneath the truth. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I stood steady. "Now I know exactly what you think of me, and I know he agrees with you." She opened her mouth, but no words came. So I turned away, placed my coffee cup by the sink, and let the silence finish the conversation for me. That was the first time in years I didn't shrink. The first time I felt the flicker of something I thought I'd lost. Defiance. The house felt unbearably quiet after Linda left, her perfume and the sickly sweet scent of cinnamon rolls lingering in the air like a cruel joke. I scrubbed the counters twice, folded the same basket of laundry 3 times, anything to keep my hands busy, anything to stop my mind from replaying her words. But eventually, I couldn't distract myself anymore. I sat on the edge of the bed, my phone heavy in my lap. My thumb hovered over a name I hadn't pressed in months, Olivia. She lived 2 towns over now. She had a busy job, a boyfriend, a whole life that seemed galaxies away from mine. We hadn't fought, just drifted. But she had always been the kind of friend who never let you feel forgotten if you reached out. Before I could overthink it, I hit call. She answered on the second ring. Monica, oh my God, hey, it's been forever. Her voice spilled through the line like sunlight cracking through heavy clouds. I swallowed hard. Yeah, I'm sorry for calling out of nowhere. Don't be silly. I've missed you. Are you okay? The silence on my end stretched too long. My throat tightened until I couldn't speak. Monica, she said softly, what's going on? And just like that, the words tumbled out. I told her everything. The garage, Linda's voice slicing me apart, Mark's silence, his agreement, that one word, cow. I talked until my throat was raw, until tears blurred my vision and my breath came in shaky bursts. She didn't interrupt. She just listened. When I finally stopped, she said, "Oh, honey, none of that is your fault." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. "You're not invisible," Olivia continued, her voice firm, steady. "You are not disposable. You are not some houseplant they can ignore and then blame for not blooming." A small, broken laugh escaped me. That's a hell of a metaphor. "Yeah," she chuckled softly. "I've had practice. People treat you like background when you stop demanding to be the main character in your own life." Her words hit me like a strike of lightning, painful but illuminating, because she was right. I had stopped asking for anything. Attention, respect, affection. I thought being a good wife meant shrinking so he could stretch. I thought keeping the peace meant keeping quiet. I thought endurance was love. But endurance had only made me disappear. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" she asked gently. "For seeing me. For still seeing me." She didn't reply right away, but I could hear her breathing on the line. Present. Steady. "You call me anytime," she said finally. "I don't care if it's 2 a.m. You are not going through this alone." And for the first time in a very long time, I believed it. That night, after the kids had fallen asleep, I found Mark in the living room. He was perched on the edge of the couch, laptop open but untouched, the television murmuring in the background. Markets, politics, noise to fill the silence. I stood in the doorway for a moment, my hands cold despite the heater's steady hum. "We need to talk," I said quietly. He didn't look up. "Can it wait? I've got work to finish." "No," I stepped closer, my voice firmer than I felt. "It really can't." His jaw tightened. He closed the laptop harder than necessary and leaned back like he was preparing for a fight he didn't want to have. What now? I sat down across from him, arms folded, legs trembling beneath me. "I heard everything last night. In the garage. You, your mother, Andrew." His eyes flicked to mine, then away. "So you were eavesdropping?" "Don't you dare make this about that," I snapped, my voice sharper than I had planned. "You said I was a mistake, that you were ashamed of me, that marrying me was settling." For a flicker of a moment, I saw something in his eyes. Shame, maybe regret, but it vanished as quickly as it came. "I was venting," he muttered. "It wasn't meant for you to hear." "But you meant it." He stood, running a hand through his hair. "God, Monica, this is exactly what I mean. You twist everything into drama. I work all day, I come home, and I can't even breathe without being accused." "I'm not accusing you," I said, standing now too, my voice trembling but steady. "I'm telling you, I know exactly where I stand in this house, and it's nowhere near beside you." He laughed bitterly. "What do you want from me? You sit around this house all day, you haven't had a job in years, you barely take care of yourself. Do you even look in the mirror anymore?" The words cut deeper than he could ever imagine. I staggered, but held my ground. And yet I'm the one who holds this family together. I know when the kids need new shoes. I know their teachers' names. I make sure there's food, clean clothes, stability. You think that's nothing because you've never had to do it." Before he could answer, the sharp click of heels cut through the room. Linda. She walked in like she owned the house, arms folded, eyes sharp. "Is this really necessary?" she asked, directing it at me. "Arguing in front of the children? You've always been so dramatic." "They're asleep," I said, coldly. She rolled her eyes. "Still, not attractive. Honestly, Monica, I don't know what Mark ever saw in you." I turned to him, my heart pounding. "Are you going to say anything? Are you just going to let her talk to me like that again?" He dropped his gaze, said nothing. That silence was my answer. I drew a breath so deep it hurt, and then I said the words I had buried for years. "I'm leaving." Linda scoffed. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm not asking for your opinion. I've spent too long shrinking myself to fit this house, this marriage, this version of me you could tolerate. I'm done." Mark just stared, stunned. I didn't wait for him to speak. I turned, walked upstairs, and began packing. Hours later, before dawn, I loaded Max and Sophie into the car. Max rubbed his eyes. "Are we going somewhere fun?" I forced a smile. "Somewhere peaceful." Sophie clutched her stuffed rabbit, her hair tousled from sleep. The rain streaked across the windshield as I drove, hands clenched on the wheel, not from fear this time, but from resolve. We pulled into my parents' driveway just as the sky turned pale. My father stepped onto the porch with his coffee mug, my mother following, one hand pressed to her chest as if she already knew. They didn't ask why. They didn't need to. My mother wrapped me in her arms. "You're home," she whispered. "That's all that matters." And for the first time in years, I believed her. The house felt smaller than I remembered, but safer too, like a childhood blanket pulled from the back of a closet, still carrying the faint scent of lavender and laundry detergent. My mother busied herself in the kitchen, baking cinnamon rolls that filled the air with warmth instead of cruelty. My father sat with me at the dining table, his quiet steadiness saying more than words ever could. "You don't have to tell us everything now," he said softly. "But if you're going to leave someone, make sure it's because you've remembered your worth, not because they forgot it." My throat tightened. "I think I forgot it too." He nodded slowly. "Then maybe this is the place to remember." That night, for the first time in years, I slept through until morning. No tossing, no tears, no weight pressing on my chest. Just deep, dreamless rest. But peace never lasts forever. On Sunday morning, I saw his car pull into the driveway, Mark's black sedan, the same dented mirror I'd begged him to fix for years. He stepped out looking wrecked, hair uncombed, coat wrinkled, eyes hollow. I walked onto the porch before he could knock. I didn't want the kids to hear his voice. "Monica," he said softly, like my name was fragile in his mouth. "I made mistakes. I listened to my mother. I didn't treat you the way you deserved, but we have a family. I want to fix this. I want you to come home." I let his words hang there before answering. What part of that house feels like home to me now? He opened his mouth, then shut it again. For once, he had no answer. "I'm not angry," I said quietly. "Not even hurt. Just done. You didn't break me, Mark, but you showed me how far I had let myself disappear. I won't go back to that." "Monica, I can change," he pleaded. I shook my head, steady and calm. "That's something you'll have to figure out on your own. I'm not your test subject." For a moment, I thought he might yell or beg or storm off.
But he just stood there, shoulders slumped, eyes lost. And I felt tall. Not proud, not vindicated, just steady, grounded. I have to go, I told him. Max and Sophie are waiting for pancakes. Can I at least see them? He asked weakly. Maybe, but not today. And with that, I turned and closed the door. No fireworks, no dramatic goodbye, just the quiet end of something that had already been dead for years. That afternoon, I took the kids to the park. Sophie ran ahead, her pink scarf trailing in the wind. Max climbed the jungle gym, his laughter ringing out, clear, unburdened. I sat on the bench, the sun warm on my face, and for the first time in a long, long time, I breathed without bracing for pain. I didn't know exactly what came next. I had no grand plan, no roadmap, but I knew this. I would never again shrink myself to fit inside someone else's comfort. This was my life now, mine to rebuild, mine to live, for me, for my children, and for the woman I had nearly forgotten I still was.